and then I start to think about eternity, and like the concept of that freaks me out. I have so many facets of anxiety that I still deal with, not as much as it was before I was on medication. It's definitely gotten much better since then, because before medication I would go into full panic attack, um, where I would have to hyperventilate, whereas now it's just like a hyperventilating that um, it's it's hard to explain, but basically the medication, there used to be a constant voice in my head causing like anxiety, whereas now with medication I can have moments of bliss where I don't think about it. And it's definitely helped. I can go days in familiar places now. After a 3-year process of getting on medication 3 years ago, I've gotten to a great place where I can go into cities, I can travel, I can hang out with friends and do all this stuff that I couldn't do before. So medication has been hugely helpful, but this just definitely tested me. Um, it's literally hell. It was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. It was mentally exhausting, physically exhausting. I feel like I've lived a million years these past few days. Um, I don't know how else I can explain it. I have a bruise on my leg from where I apparently was pressing against something so hard in the plane to give myself a grounded feeling. In order to, and this is, I'll explain how I dealt with being on the plane. I had I had kept my backpack on my lap with a snuggie that I put out and wrapped around myself so I was grounded. And then I had on um, a hat and a mask and earphones, so I had complete stimuli block out because I didn't want to know that I was on a plane. I also developed a blister on the bottom of my foot from pressing down on the floor so hard to deal with the anxiety. I have imprints on my hands from my nails squeezing into my hands. Um, this may be gross, but the laundry, all of the things that I wore smelled so bad because of the stress sweat. They were completely drenched. From my whole body was sweating when I was there. Everything was always hot because I wanted to wear layers to make sure that I could take things off because anxiety. Um, on the way back the plane, I had to um, put on my beanie over my head and my nose, and then the eye mask over it, and then my headphones. And the entire time, I had to listen to music, and my little console thing broke, so I had to listen to it at full blast. So it hurt my ears, but I had to do it because I didn't want to use up my whole battery for my phone. And then my body was so stressed I couldn't even switch over to podcasts or reading anything because I had to completely be 100% keep myself from that wall falling down. And that was the wall I was talking about before, is if that wall falls down, then I go into full panic where I feel like I can't breathe and I'm breathing in solids, and I think of air as the molecules that are going to choke me and suffocate me. And so in order to do that, I would listen to 10 songs, check the progress to see where the plane was, and listen to 10 songs again, count, while moving my feet, moving my butt, and then moving my hand, writing my name over and over again. All things to keep my body and my mind occupied, as well as the strict, rigid system of 10 songs, listening to music. And I did that for the whole 9 hours that I was on the plane back. I didn't, at one point, my body was just so sleep deprived that I did go to sleep for maybe, I think, 40 minutes maybe, just because I'd only had the combination of my body was running on, I think, maybe 3 hours, 4 hours of sleep for the past 3 days. I only slept for an hour the night before, so my body was completely done. And eventually it just shut down, and it had the sleep, and then the rest of the time was that rigid system of 10 and checking the time in 10. So it was incredibly difficult. By the time I got home, you just saw me. I had deep bags under my eyes. My voice was completely gone. You can still hear that it's pretty gone, just from the stress. And yeah, I still am glad that I did it, because it was always a dream to go to France, and I got that experience of being there. The sucky thing about anxiety now is that I look back and I'm like, well, I should have just pushed myself more. I should have just seen more, and I didn't get to go to London to the Harry Potter tour, the stuff I really wanted to do. But that was 6 days away. London was 6 days away from when I just realized I couldn't do it anymore. And this isn't, and that's why I have to think about it as if my mom compared it once to having like a boot on my foot. You know, you have this injury and you have to realize there's some things that you can't do. And, you know, for me, that would have been traveling. So it's just a matter of process. I've made so much process in the past 3 years. I have to allow myself more time. So that's the sucky thing, is that I'm thinking like, oh, well, you didn't do that and you should have stayed and like seen all of that. But just thinking about the effect it had on me and how miserable I was, I literally, it was a life or death situation. I'm not being dramatic when I say that. I literally mean it was, my body was shutting down. I was losing all of my abilities, and I just realized it wasn't worth it. And even now, my body's still recovering. It's, my mind is basically having shock. So I leaned back in my chair earlier today, and my body went into the mode of being in the plane. It started to like hyperventilate and freak out because it thought we were back on the plane, even though I was, you know, in a car on the way to the store with my mom. And my body is still, you know, I still have a headache just from recovering from all the stress my body went through. And I still have some mental issues. I'm still coming down from that. So my anxiety is a little higher than it usually is, and I'm still trying to deal with that and get to a good place. And you know, as soon as I came home, I went to bed at 8, hit the pillow, slept for 12 hours. My mom said I was snoring because my body was so drained. I've seen a therapist in the past. Now we're going to get one through the hospital just so I can make progress, as well as we're going to look into me going to a hypnotist to see if I can do anything with that. So that's the update. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to ask. I'm completely open about it. I'll tell you anything you want to know. If you have a loved one dealing with it, or if you yourself are dealing with it, or if you're just interested in more about anxiety and how it affects people, I'll be making a video soon talking about just my time in Paris. It'll be a little more optimistic, hopefully. You can just hear more about the country, as well as maybe an airport observation video. So, yeah, that's it. Thank you for watching this. I know it's super lengthy, and have a great day.